Oh boy. Let's just say if you've been around the block with DSP, you'll know he's not just a mobile game player, but a mobile game addict. He probably still plays mobile games, but doesn't talk much about them, as if he does he'll get shit on. 'Cause I'm gonna give some flashbacks to a few people. Supercard. WWE Supercard was Phil's addiction, and that's not hyperbole, genuine addiction. It was some shitty WWE card game that was really simple to play. It got so bad that he was neglecting his streams for the game. He'd come like 20 minutes to half an hour late. And since you could just track people on Supercard, you can always tell when they're online and in a match, and he'd say some excuse, but you'd check his online status and he was on Supercard playing matches the whole time. He'd be on Supercard playing matches during streams. He'd go on breaks, and rather than 15 minutes as they'd usually be, they'd be half an hour to 45 minutes, and so detractors would go on Supercard and check, and he'd be playing Supercard the entire 45 minutes. After streams he'd play the game until 1 to 2 a.m. During one event he played the game from like 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. There was a Twitter somewhere dedicated to tracking his Supercard addiction. And of course, since Phil's a genius, he made an account on the Supercard forums, and he simply used the name Darksidephile and an avatar of him in a Sonic hat. He said on press stream he's not bothered people found his account, like it's hard, as there's nothing interesting on there. But it was actually pretty interesting, as he was pretty critical of the game, and would have tantrums whenever he lost, similar to fighting games about how unfair it all is, etc. But, since it was the Supercard forums, he had absolutely no power whatsoever. So it was DSP interacting with others, but having to be on their level. He couldn't just talk down to others then ban them if he didn't like what they were saying, and have everyone suck his dick and agree with him. He had to engage with them. So most of the time whenever he was critical of the game, he got shit on by others, because they had no idea who was. He was some annoying guy who kept ranting to them. So during these arguments, when he obviously started losing arguments and people started shutting his arguments down pretty quickly, all he could do was either resort to childish tactics or just flee the scene in defeat, as he didn't have his talk down and ban power with his 25 followers backing him up and mobbing that one person. The most interesting reveal on those forums, though, was the reveal of how much Phil spent on microtransactions, and it was in the thousands. I really wanna say 3K, that's the number that sticks that I remember. Yeah, he really spent that much on WWE Supercard microtransactions. And it wasn't even past the first year of release yet. So yeah, this is what people mean when he's a shitty impulse spender. And at this point he was living with Lena, and paying for 2 places, and in debt, and all that shit. In the end, he ended up having a massive crybaby tantrum over a Sting card that was overpowered and left the game, because the card broke the game, and now everything's unfair and legit players like him are screwed over, you know. Legit players who spend $3 on $5, $10 pay to win microtransactions, and all the usual DSP shit you hear whenever he plays a competitive game. And thus ended the Supercard saga.
Now, I want to say this up front. I want to tell everyone, because people are going to be like, oh, how's he playing? I got cards because I had credit in the iTunes store from presents from like 2 years ago. About 2 years ago, I was playing this game, WWE Supercard, a ton, okay? And I was just playing the living shit out of it. I was addicted to it. And I eventually stopped playing it. Over a year ago, I stopped playing it, actually, because it was taking up way too much of my time. I said, I cannot have this take up so much fucking time. It's ridiculous. It's a time waster game. It's a money waster game. I don't want to play it anymore. But when I was playing it a lot, I told my family, and for Christmas, like 2 years ago, well, not 2 years, it was not this past Christmas, the Christmas before, I got a bunch of iTunes credits, like hundreds of dollars of credits for iTunes. Now, the thing is, I don't buy music. Like, I wouldn't buy music and buy an album on my phone to listen to or whatever, and anything like that. I don't even listen to music on my PC, so literally these cards have sat around, and I haven't used them. I use them on Hearthstone this week for this stream, because they're just sitting there right there. They're valueless unless I do something with them. I says, here's the opportunity. I put them in. I'll tell you, I got a bunch of cards. Some of the highest level epic cards, but I guess they're only specific to a certain class. Like, for example, I got one that's a really good card, but I can only use it, I think, when I'm like a class that I usually don't play, which sucks. It's like, damn, I can only use it when I'm this class I don't want to fucking use. So, we'll see. We'll see. A lot of people have been saying, how's the stream going to work? Are you going to allow us to make your decks for you, right? I don't know. Now, here's the thing. I'm playing this on PC, by the way. I'll be playing on PC, so I won't have my laptop in front of me. What I'm going to have is like an iPad or something up in front of me with Stream Chat going in it. And I probably won't even be able to respond, and the stream chat a lot of the times disconnects when I do that. So I may not even have stream chat with me, sadly. What I might have to do is, I don't know, finagle it if I can rotate my setup here to get the laptop close to me, which you really can't in my office. There's no room to do it. I had to figure something out. I know people want to interact with me during this Hearthstone stream, but I really don't have the means to do it. I can't bring up stream chat on my PC because that'll give away my IP address, if you can believe it. Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. I play Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. I play a Marvel video game called Marvel Future Fight. And I play a game called WWE Champions, which of all things, if you can believe it, is a WWE game that plays like Candy Crush. It's basically just moving gems around and breaking colored gems, alright? So, what are they all? Dokkan Battle is a combat-based game where you collect different Dragon Ball fighters from all the different shows. Dragon Ball Z, and all the different eras of that. Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, all different, every version of every Saiyan and every boss and enemy they've ever fought is in the game. And you play through stages, combat stages, where you pit them against enemies. Then they have special events where you can get higher level cards if you pass a certain event, or if you earn these things called Dragon Stones that are the in-game currency. And those allow you to do summons to get new characters. And you can buy them, or you can just earn them by just playing through doing certain events and stuff. The game's pretty good. It's got a lot of variety in it, meaning it's not just one kind of thing. Like, there's tournaments where you play against other people's teams. There's games where you play against just the CPU. Then there's special events where you fight bosses and stuff. So it's pretty nice. I do like the game. But like all mobile games, it's basically pay to win. The more you pay, the higher chance you have you're going to get the better cards or whatever. You'll have the better team, etc. Alright, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius is an interesting game. It's kind of the same premise as Dokkan Battle in a lot of ways. The difference is, instead of like combat, it's RPG combat. So turn-based Final Fantasy-like combat. It's like playing the classic 2D Final Fantasy games. And this game, much like Dokkan Battle, has all the characters from all Final Fantasy 1 through 15, plus other spin-off games in the Final Fantasy series. All those characters are in the game, and every once in a while they add new characters and original characters that could be on your team, and you summon, you train, they level them up, they gain new abilities, much like in Final Fantasy. And again, just like Dokkan Battle, use matches where you can fight other people's teams, you can fight against big bosses and challenges, you can do special the difference here is that this game actually has a story. The Final Fantasy Brave Exvius actually has an RPG story in it, plus it has all the other things that you would expect in a mobile game in it as well. Alright? Again, it's pay to win. The more money you sink into it, the more characters you can summon, the higher chance you'll get the better characters, etc., etc. Marvel Future Fight actually is basically a game that plays like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I don't know how many of you played Marvel Ultimate Alliance back in the day. Really good console game. You know, from like early to mid kind of Xbox 360, PS3 generation. You assemble a team of Marvel heroes, 3 of them, that go out and fight in different scenarios. Maybe you're just killing generic enemies on the street like in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Maybe there's a boss you have to fight. Maybe there's a, you know, epic level event. Again, similar to the other games, they almost follow the same formula, only the combat there isn't turn-based or anything. It's actually active combat where you can control where your character goes and activate abilities on the fly, just like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. So it really is kind of the evolution of that game. That's where it went. It went to a mobile version. But again, pay to win. Yes, you can earn in-game currency, whatever, but if you pay money to get the new characters or whatever, you're going to excel versus anyone else. And then, by far, the worst game that I play is WWE Champions. This game is basically just a time waster for me, because I watch WWE, so a lot of the times when I'm watching wrestling, I'll open up the game and play it. It sucks. The game is actually one of the most unfair games I've ever played. Here's why. So when you play a game like Candy Crush or all those, you have a screen full of tokens and you have to move them around to match up. It breaks a row or whatever, and then the tokens fall. This game actually actively cheats all the time. And what I mean by that, you'll be fighting an opponent. Okay, well, your character, for example, will use different colored gems to earn combos. So maybe your character uses green and black gems. Well, guess what? You'll play a match, no green and black gems whatsoever on the fucking screen at all. Oh, but the computer opponent you're facing uses red and yellow, and the whole fucking screen is red and yellow. So they get all these combos and shit, and you get nothing because the game fucked you. In addition to that, alright, it actively cheats with what gems are above that you can't see that fall when you break stuff, because a lot of the time, you'll break a row, and just, you know, gems will fall, whatever. Then the computer will break a row. Oh, look, conveniently, all these gems up top are the colors they need to get a multi-combo. And I'm not kidding. You'll be like full health bar against an enemy that has no health. All of a sudden, the enemy will break one row, and then all of a sudden, combo, and they keep falling into place perfectly to get like a 10-hit combo, and you instantly die. And this happens all the time. It's not like, oh, it happens on a rare occasion. This happens all the fucking time when you play the game. The game is horrendously broken. And it's hilarious because people are playing this game and like it. And I'm like, dude, this game is terrible. This game is actually one of the worst mobile games I've ever played because it actively cheats and generates the gems only for your opponents and not for you to get these combos to just fall into place. So if you wanted me to rank the games, I would probably say that I like Dokkan Battle and Final Fantasy Brave Exvius equally. And really, I like one better at different times. Like, if there's a bunch of events going on in one game, I'll play the hell out of it. Or if there's a bunch of events going on in the other game, I'll play the hell out of that. So I kind of alternate between. Marvel Future Fight, I like the game, but it doesn't have, like, they don't actively add a ton of new stuff all the time. So a lot of the times when I play the game, it just ends up being grinding the same shit every single day. And it kind of gets a little worn out and boring because of that. But I do like the game in particularly because it's like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. WWE Champions is just a time waster. If there's nothing going on in the other games, or a lot of the times what happens is these games for some reason have maintenance, and they end up being at the same time or whatever, then I'll go play WWE Champions, but that's like the afterthought. I barely, you know, that's the game I like the least out of anything that I play mobile. Alright. Let's see here. It's garbage. It's basically the mobile games formula. Like in a mobile game, the base game is free, okay? But if you actually want to do well in the game, you have to drop endless amounts of money into it to try to pull the best characters or the best cards, to try to buy the items you need to upgrade your characters or your team or your base or whatever it is. That's how these games work. It's free to download, but insane amounts of money to actually do well at. And a lot of people fall into this trap of gambling, where it's exactly what it is. It's gambling. It's nothing else. You can't argue it's anything else but gambling. And the only reason that it's not regulated as such in the United States is because there's no money payout. In gambling, you spend money to earn money. All right? Because there's no money payout, they argue it's not gambling. It is gambling. It's just a different kind of reward. You know, a digital currency, or an in-game reward that has some kind of innate value to the gamer. And or you might even argue it has monetary value, although most of these games claim that you can't resell their accounts I'm sure people find ways to do so.
There's currently 199 results on Pigpigo for the term mobile game. If my autism kicks up a bit, I may go through and try to document every mobile game Phil admits to playing, but just at a cursory glance he seems to be quite the mobile game aficionado. He spends time during his E3 2019 coverage talking about what mobile games he is hyped for. It's also another angle to explain why he so vehemently views anything other than press button or tap screen to win as terrible fucking game design. Dude's a fucking mobile game addict. I definitively remember him saying sometime around 2017 that he had a shitton of iTunes gift cards he wasn't using, or something to that effect, and straight up put all of that money into Supercard. It was a stupid amount of money, like at least over $1,000. Since he already admitted to wailing out on the game before, finding out he's invested this much over the course of 3+ years really isn't surprising to me. He also never switches up his username for any other service. I'm pretty sure this nigga even used his typical username email password for his Brazers account years ago. No chance he came up with some fake username when he registered for a mobile game years ago so trolls wouldn't discover the trail of microtransactions he had yet to spend money on years later. Followed up by some wealthier log spending even more money than he admitted to in order to somehow make him look bad eventually? Doesn't add up to me. With the money he spent as well, don't think his ego would let him invest that much shit without his name being attached to that clout. This is one of those things I can accept at face value for sure. I can understand, and I do respect the intentions of the skeptics in the thread. It's a matter of due diligence, and it's absolutely important when it comes to the happenings surrounding Dark. There are lots of vlogs and faggots on gay ops when it comes to this dude. At the same time, in this scenario, I believe the skeptics are demanding verification on a level that Op simply can't provide. He can't give you that first-hand verification you want, and he never claimed to be able to do so. This is not something like the Kimberly Brink saga where Op is coming here with some story to make Dark look bad. He brought actual receipts, and his knowledge of the mechanics surrounding the game to support them. And previous statements from Phil himself back up the level of activity and spending habits that are present in what Op provided. Phil himself has previously admitted to spending hundreds of dollars on this, and even saying at one point that he was addicted to playing it. The relapse that's shown here is consistent with what Phil had previously said himself. This being his account is not a reaching conclusion to come to. He's definitely innocent until proven guilty, but there has to be a point where reasonable doubt takes over. I think the lore strongly backs up the claim of this being his account, to the point that there was even a Twitter account years ago that was following his Supercard activity. I can't see this one being played off as fake news, but I do think it's so autistic that Phil doesn't even have to seriously acknowledge it in front of the paypigs. They'll take his dismissal without second thought, because it's more difficult for the detractors to explain this situation to everyone than it is for him to downplay the significance of it.